All right, so I'm going to be presenting on the round Earth or the globe Earth, and I got asked by Brother Aldrin to present something here, and so it's not really a topic that I thought I ever wanted to present, but I will because I was asked, and we're going to go over some of the scientific proofs that show for sure that it's definitely a globe that we're living on. Now, some that I've recently come across is that only 2/3 of American millennials believe the Earth is round. There's a lot of flat earthers that are coming, so this is a big issue. And a lot of the flat earthers are saying that they believe the Bible is a flat earth book. And I'm afraid that this is going to lead to some big issues with regards to the Bible. And I'll show you why as we go into the rebuttal that some of the verses are being misused. But this is the map that is said to be the flat earth map. It comes from the United Nations, and what is being said is that NASA and the United Nations are doing a big cover-up, and they're covering up that the earth is actually a flat earth, and they're just symbolizing it to throw it in our faces. Now, when you look at the map and you go by the angles and stuff, you'd actually have about 104,000 kilometers around the radius of what is called the ice ring around the earth. And you know, they say that you can't go down there because the United Nations is guarding it, and so they don't want you to figure out that the earth is actually flat. So they have there's a lot of patrolling going on down there. If you actually put a patrol boat every 10 miles, you'd have about 10,000 patrol boats patrolling that whole thing. We can go down there. We can actually do things that can get down there. There's many people that are down there right now, but they're saying that the purpose is to stop us from discovering that the earth is actually flat. This is why the UN is keeping us from going down there. But nobody's ever seen any of these patrol boats. I've seen these things in the videos. People are saying there is patrol boats down there, but nobody's ever seen them. But that's what we're being told, is we can't explore the far south because the UN or the United Nations would stop us. Is this actually truth? And I don't believe it is. You can order cruises across the Antarctic right now, from New Zealand all the way across, and as we'll see, I'll show you that the actual coordinates show that there's no way that this could be a flat earth. It's impossible. There's all kinds of cruises you could go for. Now, when you move out the map from a round earth to a flat earth, like let's say this globe right here, right, something has to give. So if I was to take, it's already breaking apart here, so we could unfold it, kind of like an orange peel. And you could see that you're going to have some problems with your coordinates as soon as you try to make this into a flat earth. It's not going to work. What's going to happen is you're going to miss a lot of earth, a lot of land. And if you look at this map here, what I've got here is the flat earth map, and we've got some little lines drawn. This is along the latitude lines, and these directions from the center, from this point here, are said to be correct. Now, when you go across this way, you have a bunch of problems. For instance, do you notice the size of Australia here? Now, Australia is much bigger than Canada, but yet we can go and drive across Australia and Canada, and we know that Australia is only 3,000 kilometers across, and Canada is about 6,000 kilometers across. So when you unfold this like this, it destroys everything in regards to distance down here, and everything on this map is wrong according to if you were to lay out a map of a round earth compared to a flat earth. So all these distances are wrong, all the shapes are wrong, all the areas below that go this way are wrong. Every space, distance, position is wrong on this map. If we were just to drive a car, we could measure this in kilometers from city to city to city, and we could definitely know how far it is. So you've got a bunch of problems when you try to move it from a flat earth map to a round earth map. It doesn't work. So this is the distance here across Australia. It's 3,687 kilometers. And on a flat earth map, if you were to just measure these coordinates, you've got these are told to us that they're correct coordinates, and that the distances from this way are correct. So you could take this measurement, 13,322, and put it here, and you could actually calculate this distance from here to here by just using those distances, and you'd end up on that map with a distance of 8,886 kilometers. That's a big difference compared to what it actually is, because the reality is that it's 3,687 kilometers. So we have a big problem with the flat Earth map. It doesn't equal what the real distance is. There's a lot of, this is reality, this is another something else that people have come up with, right? It's not truth. And there's many other way we can prove this, but we'll keep going here. Now, as you guys look at this sunshine here, you'll notice something. It's going over the horizon. And there's a reason that it goes over the horizon, because there is a horizon to go over. And the reason it goes over the horizon is because the Earth isn't flat. Think about it. On a flat Earth, would the sun go over the horizon? Let's look at what the flat Earth teaches here. Now that's your sunset there, and you'll notice that the sun, as it goes down, it actually goes below the horizon. I just want you guys to take a look at this little drawing or perspective, and this is from a flat Earth view. This is what the sun would actually do if you were on a flat Earth map. You can see that as it's going into the distance, what's happening to the sun? It's getting smaller. Is that what actually happens in reality? So reality is different than what the flat Earth theory teaches. That would be reality on a flat Earth. The sun would be going around. They say the sun is about 3,000 miles high on a flat Earth. And so 3,000 miles high, as it goes in the distance, it will start to go further and smaller, but it will never go below the horizon on a flat Earth. It can't. It's impossible. There's no sunset on a flat Earth. Now here's perspective here, and I'll just show you guys some things about perspective. As you see these things here, notice something as they get further away. What does it look like to perspective? It gets smaller as it goes further away. That's what would happen to the sun. But as the sun goes across, it's actually the biggest when it hits the sun, when it hits the horizon. So why is that? It wouldn't work like that on a flat Earth, right? It would start to get smaller as it goes further apart, especially if it's only 3,000 miles up and it's just a little ball. It's got to be a lot further away than that. See what you'd see here from a flat Earth perspective is you'd be able to see it all the way around the world as it goes around. And they're saying it goes around the equator. We'll get to a couple other things, but the sun doesn't set on a flat Earth. That's a big issue that is unexplainable to a flat earther. There's a lot of problems here. Now this is a picture, sorry it doesn't show it at the bottom, but this is New York. We see the sun in the sky here. And this next one, this is California at the same time. Now we had the black marker right here. Okay, let's just draw the globe here. And then we're going to draw the sun. And this is miles and miles and miles away, okay? It's a long ways away. And let's just draw a person right here. And draw a person right here. Okay, now what happens is as the sun starts to tilt, you see less of the sun, or it's higher in the sky. To this person here, on his level, it's going to show up higher. To this person, it's going to show up lower. See, this only makes sense on a flat Earth. So as you go across the United States, you'll see a 3-hour difference in regards to when the sun rises and when the sun sets. And the reason there's a 3-hour difference is because as the Earth is spinning, what's happening is it's setting for some people earlier than it sets for the other people. And as it keeps going, the sun will go all the way around the bottom of the Earth and it will come back up. So it would go down here and you'd be able to see straight down in the middle of the night and the sun would be on the other side of the Earth. And I'll show you a couple more things that just prove this fact. But this is definitely what happens. This is reality. And we want to deal with what's real, what's reality. Science is things you can test, you can observe, you can see, you can demonstrate. That's what real science is. False science is something that, well, you know, evolution, stuff like that, you can't test, demonstrate that millions of years ago or however. Those are not things that can be tested and demonstrated. Now here is what is said to happen on the flat Earth is this sun goes around the Earth. And it's kind of like a little spotlight going around. Now, there's a problem with this, and I'll show you what the problem is. There's a lot of problems with this. As you see, can you see the distance that the sun is shining on here? Now we go to the next one, and this is what it really looks like. You can go to timeanddate.com, and you could get a straight line here because half the Earth is lit up at the same time, like this. And as it tilts, half the Earth is still lit up. So down here, you'll see sunrise. And right here, you'll see sunrise at the same time. And right here, you'll see sunrise. And you can go on timeanddate.com, and you could prove that sunrise here happens at the same time right here. You can just type in certain coordinates just by going to Google and say sunrise in California, sunrise in so-and-so Brazil, and you can type and it'll give you the exact time of the sunrise, the exact minute. And you can prove this, that there's no doubt that it's not, that half the Earth is lit up at the same time always. Half the Earth, always lit up. You can look on Google, see what time sundown is, sunset is. So that means that that little spotlight that's lighting that little circle, it doesn't work. It's not truth. It's not reality. This is reality. The whole half of the Earth is lit up. That's not reality right there. So we got to deal with some facts if we're going to tell people that the Earth is flat and that the Bible is a flat Earth book. What are we going to do when everybody starts figuring out, well, this isn't reality, so that means this is reality, so that means what about the Bible? The Bible's not reality. And they're going to throw it out. And that's what this is. And so people are saying, well, there's a conspiracy by NASA and there's a conspiracy by the United Nations. There definitely is. All these flat Earth videos, when they came out, they all came out at the same time. And you know what? Where did they come from? Well, I can tell you there is a conspiracy going on, but it's not a conspiracy that the Earth is flat. It's definitely not flat. The reality is half the Earth is lit up. That's one fact that we can know. If you were to try to do the whole half the Earth is flat with that little ball in the sky, you'd have sunlight reaching way down here in the middle, and your ball would be right here, and it'd be reaching down here at the same time as it's reaching here and here. But why would it not be reaching all the way over here? Why is your sunlight not reaching the other end of the Earth on a flat Earth? That would make no sense, right? That's not reality. Reality tells us, anybody can know that if this little ball is right here, it's not going to light all the way down to here and then light over here. It can't work. So that's the flat Earth, but that's not reality. Now, a lot of people say, well, we can't see the curve on the Earth, and so that must mean it's flat. If we go look at the horizon in different places, you know what? Everything seems to come to eye level, so that must mean it's flat. From our perspective, we can't see a curve. So that proves that it's flat. That's not how we prove things, because to your eye, you can't see. Over 40,000 feet, there's only a 3.5 degree curve. So it's really undetectable to the human eye. You can't see it with your eye. It's impossible to see, especially when you're at a low altitude. You can't see it from foot level. Maybe you could see it way up in the sky, but you could definitely never see it from level. So you can't tell. Even from a high mountain, it's very hard to detect. A few degrees angle is not perceptible to our eyes. So how can we prove that there is a curve? You know, this is a city here, Houston, Texas, but as you get off, you can see the further you get away, right, you're not going to be able to see that curve as you come out of the Earth. It's not detectable to the human eye. So there's got to be another way to prove that there's a curve. Now here's Toronto from Niagara-on-the-Lake, 31 miles away. And I know people say, well, there's no curve here in these pictures. And these are used by flat earthers, these pictures here. But I want you to look at this picture carefully, okay? Now, as you look at this, there's a site called metabunk.com where you can actually calculate the distance in miles to the CN Tower, so that you can calculate how much it should drop down as it curves. And you can tell your height of how high your eyesight is, and then you'll get how much hidden amount you should get. So the CN Tower should be hidden about 486 feet in this picture in Toronto from across the Lake Ontario. And you know, when you look at the CN Tower carefully in this picture, you'll notice that that's exactly what's missing right there in that picture. How much of the CN Tower do you see missing? About 186 feet. It's almost perfect. So that proves that there is a curve going over the lake. And we'll see this as we continue here, but these are ships that go over the horizon. And as you see the ships over the horizon, as they get really far away, you can only see them with a telescope. But you'll see what happens is that the sail is all that you see at the end of this. There's a curve going over the lake. And I know that the flat earthers are saying this isn't true. They're selective in regards to their pictures. They're not picking out everything. They're picking the ones they want to prove things. It's not truth. We need to go and do some investigation on what they're doing. It's here's another one, the Diamond Princess ship leaving, and as it goes out, it's disappearing beyond the horizon. It's definitely way out there. You can see how much of it is hidden behind the horizon. There's a curve. That's why it's disappearing as it goes. Here's Chicago, and I know that some people have said, well, Chicago shouldn't be visible. It's 43 miles away, and there is certain amount that's not visible, but what's happening is that people are measuring from their feet, and they're doing a wrong calculation on the curve. So if they're measuring from their feet, not their eyesight, then you've got 4 extra feet that you can see, and it's a big deal. I'll show you in a second as we continue, but there is some hidden amount on this tower here. Do you guys notice it? It's definitely not the same height there as it's going across. There is a mirage on the lake too, which also helps reflect the light. So as the cold air below sometimes reflects the hot air, you'll see that it will reflect and show more of the actual city than it should. That's a scientific fact. Now, this is one from Hawaii. It's a 108-mile picture, but people say you shouldn't see the mountains from there. This isn't exactly true, because if you actually look at where they are, what do you see here all below? You see trees, right? See, these are what the flat earthers are selecting as pictures, is where they're way above on a mountain, and then they're saying, wow, you shouldn't be able to see it from there. But if you actually go and check the height, this is what they do. From foot level, you could come way out here, so you wouldn't see a tower or something like that. But from eye level, you can see a lot more. You see? So that's what's happening, is that they're not putting the proper level of their sight in line. And so with a picture like this, they're way above the trees. And then they're saying, look, the earth is flat. See, we can see this place way across the ocean. That's selective reasoning. Now let's keep going here. And again, you can go to metabunk.com. Metabunk.com, you can put your viewer height in feet, distance in miles, and you'll get the distance of how much should be hidden below the surface. So what's going to happen here, and this is geodetic surveying. Basically what happens is that they measure off entire towns. And on a plane survey, what you'll find is you'll find a perfect 180 degrees on a triangle. But here, it's 180 plus. And the reason is because they got to calculate a curve. And so it always comes to more than 180 when you're measuring large amounts of land. Always. Anybody that measures these things knows these things. This is common beliefs. They've been doing this for years, and they have to measure the curve. Now here's a level here, and what they're doing is they're actually putting a laser to measure the curve on the earth. And as they're measuring this curve on the earth, they've got it leveled out, and it's at 2.5 feet high, the laser level. And as they go out in the boat, they go out about 3 miles, and they end up with about 6 feet. It's up 6 feet, the level. So what that means is the curve is going down as they're going out. Now, let me show you a little bit more, because I want to show you not just 3 miles, but let's see 6 miles. I got a little video for you guys to see here.
Yeah, I have you on the telescope. Go ahead and land.
Now this is a helicopter 6 miles away. You notice what's happening here? It's going down 6 miles away.
As it lands, it completely disappears from my line of sight. Joey, are you still airborne?
So why is it disappearing from the site?
The reports from the helicopter, they're still flying. Okay, Joey, go ahead and lift off.
Let me know when you can see us on the spot of the horizon.
Here comes the helicopter over the horizon.
I got him. Okay, what's your elevation right now?
All right, Brian, how many feet are we above the lake?
24 feet.
24 feet above the lake in just 6 miles. That's a pretty huge drop, right? So there's a curve that can be seen in just 6 miles. But if we just had a human eye, it'd be hard for us to see this curve in just our eye, because as they're looking at it, they can't see the curve from their perspective. However, with leveling instruments, the proper leveling instruments, which I don't think a lot of flat earthers want to even try out, then they would know that the earth is definitely round, it's curved, it's definitely round. So they're going to end up with what we have here is a curve to a line of sight. Now, I don't know if any of you have ever seen a lunar eclipse, but a lunar eclipse, basically what happens here is the earth comes over the sun, and as the earth comes over the sun, do you guys notice anything about the shadow of the earth here? Do you see anything? It's curved. There's a curve on it, right? And then we had some blood moons a few years ago, and what happens is that the blood moon comes from the light reflecting around the earth from the sun, and so as it's reflecting, it turns the earth blood red, and that's called a lunar eclipse. Now, as it's continuing here, you'll notice something else, that as it comes back over, what do you see the earth happening on the other side? You see another what? It's another curve, curved the other way. So what do we have? 100% proof of a round earth, a ball. We're living on a ball. There's no doubt about it. And that's the earth reflecting from the sun on the other side. So you've got your sun, and then you've got your moon back here, and then as the earth goes over, it brings its shadow across it. And that's all it is. That's what a blood moon is. And it's an eclipse. And no flat earth model can predict when a lunar eclipse is going to be, when a solar eclipse is going to be. But when you understand that the earth is going around the sun, all of these things of when the next solar eclipse is going to be, when the next lunar eclipse is going to be, are predicted, because you know how long it's going to take to get around, how long it's going to take the moon to go around, and all these things are predictable. But if you're a flat earther, you can never predict these things. There's no way. So again, we were talking about the moon being a light of its own, and there's a bunch of Bible verses used there, but I want you guys to look at the moon here. Do you guys see anything in these craters here? There's shadows. Do you know why it's got shadows in the in these holes here? Because the sun is casting a shadow. Just like on the earth, if you hit a mountain, what happens is a shadow is cast, and the sun is reflecting the moon. And Ellen White even says the moon reflects the sun. She says it plainly, just as we reflect Christ. That's what the moon is, a symbol of us as God's church, reflecting the Son of righteousness. And so he is the source of light, and this is just a reflection of the light. The sun is the source, the moon is a reflection. The moon is not our own light. And I know we read numerous verses, but these verses are being misused. And what's going to happen is we're going to look real silly when we see these shadows on the moon, and anybody can get a telescope and know that this is definitely not a light of its own. It's reflecting the light of the sun, just as its shadows are being reflected across the sun. Everything on that moon is reflected from the sun. That's how we know how to get the new moons, the eclipses, all that stuff from the sun. Now, these are people who use sextants. Basically, what they do is calculate the stars, and they can measure the sun in the sky, and they can tell you where they are on the latitude of the earth. And you know how they know this? Because they know that the earth is round. Anybody who uses a sextant knew the earth was round, and they knew the earth was round for years. They've been using these on the ocean all these years to calculate where they are in regards to their distance. Now, this is where we are in the Milky Way, and we're going to look at this as we continue, but I want to show you some things about the moon. This is the moon phase here, and that's what it does, is it goes around the sun. And as it goes around the sun, it always reflects half the sun. So the light coming towards the moon, if it's over here, is going to reflect half of the moon. But from your perspective, you might only see that much of the moon, or whatever it is, whatever phase it's in. So it takes 29 and a half days to go around the Earth. And as it does, it's always in a different phase as it's going around. So you've got many different phases of the moon. And this is all from it reflecting the sun, which is way far away. It's not 3,000 miles above and circling the Earth. It can't be. Scientifically impossible. Scientifically impossible. Now here we have the northern hemisphere. I want you to notice something about the stars. Watch these stars here. Let's look at it as we go. Hold on one second. Now you'll notice these stars. Is it not playing? Okay, that's not playing. For some reason that's not playing. Oh, there we go. Okay, there's one. This is the North Star right here. I've got this on a program called Stellarium. And you can see this in the video that I was just showing. But basically what's happening here is the stars all rotate around a certain star. This is called Polaris, or the North Star. And where I live, you can see the North Star pretty good, pretty high up in the sky. And you can tell it's always in the same spot. Everything always rotates around it, and it always rotates counterclockwise. Now remember this, counterclockwise, okay? Now, as you go down, you'll see the North Star and all these stars here, they rotate. Notice how they go below the horizon. There's a reason for that, and you can see it down here, like in the Philippines, a lot better as it comes below, but you can't see it up there because there is a horizon. But as it goes, down below in the south hemisphere, there's a small star called Sigma Octantis, and this star is called the South Star. And basically, when you're looking at the hemisphere in the southern atmosphere, do you notice what rotation it's rotating? Is it rotating counterclockwise or is it rotating clockwise? That's kind of strange, isn't it? Because you're on a flat Earth, everybody should be spinning the same way. So what's going on? Why are they rotating clockwise down there, but counterclockwise on the top? Well, let's draw a little man right here. Okay? And then let's say the South Star is right here. And let's say the North Star is way up here. And as you're spinning, the Earth is going to be rotating one direction. So what this person's going to see is it going around this way. But if you're this way, what this person's going to see is it going around that way. You see? And the only reason that can happen is because you're on a round Earth. There's no other way to explain that. And let's keep going here as we're going. So that's your southern star. That's your southern hemisphere spinning the other way. Now, there's a big problem here because only people down here can see the southern star. And only people up here can see the northern star. That's a big problem if you're on a flat Earth, because if you're on a flat Earth, well, the southern stars should be seen by everybody, apparently. But the northern star, you should not have a problem seeing it once you get below the equator. But you do. So why do you have a problem seeing it once you get below the equator? Because you're going over this point and you can't see all the way up that way. It's really simple. And why can't you see this one, the southern star, when you get on this side of the equator up here? Because it's below the Earth. See? It's very simple. That's what proves, no doubt, that we are not on a flat Earth. Because if you were on a flat Earth, you should be able to see all the stars in the north, and you should be able to see all the stars in the south. But it can't happen. So that's the difference between reality and imagination. That's what this is. It's an imaginary thing. It's not real. And not just that, but why can these people see the southern star, and these people see the southern star, and these people see the southern star, but these people here can't see the southern star? Because these people are all down. It's not like this. This isn't reality. That's the only reason that they can't see the southern stars. So two poles rotating opposite direction, and the video's not really going, but it should show them both. And this is reality. There's no doubt about it. But if you were on a flat Earth, all the stars are rotating the same direction. The flat Earth does not have the stars rotating opposite direction. That's the only way that can happen, is on a round Earth. So we are absolutely on a round Earth. There's definitely a problem with this model. It doesn't fit reality. There's no way it fits reality. And you can check these things by just contacting people, looking at the videos on the internet, or going down there yourself to Australia, or wherever, and you will prove that it is absolutely a round Earth just by checking that one fact. Now, this is all we would have to do is just get different observers at different latitudes, and we can prove these things. You know, people can see Polaris up here, but he can't see it from down there. There's no way. And the same thing the other way. It can't happen. Now, in all these flags here, what they have is called the Southern Cross of stars. And you'll see this only in the south. Southern Cross. And that's why it's on the flag of Australia, the flag of New Zealand, the flag of Brazil, the flag of Papua New Guinea, the flag of Samoa. It's on all these flags, the Southern Star. And the reason that it's only down here is because the Southern Star is way, way down here, and it can't be seen from up here. It's not impossible to see it. On a flat Earth, you would see it, but you should be able to see all the stars on a flat Earth together. But you can't. But up here, you can see it. Now, as far as the direction of Polaris, it has to be very, very far away, because the only reason it stays in one place is because of where it is. And this can be calculated by our trip around the sun. You can calculate both sides from here to here, and then basically you've got your distance, 186 million miles. And you can prove this by the moon. And you can calculate how far the sun is by the moon and telling how far it's getting apart and stuff like that. There's ways to calculate these things. And these things can be calculated for real. I know that flat earthers say you can't calculate it. That's not true. It's just, now, sun, you can get the 2 points of where the Earth is around the sun, and you can calculate your angle, and you'll get your distance to the North Star. You'll know that it's definitely millions of miles away. It's not just in a little firmament above the Earth, as some people are teaching. And it's definitely not going to make the Bible look good when you go out saying that the Earth is flat. It's going to make the Bible look real bad. So this is definitely wrong. It can't happen. It's not reality. Now, there's no sunset in Antarctica. This is a picture of Antarctica, and as you watch this video here, basically what happens is the sun goes all the way around, but as it goes around the level. And the reason that it stays up all day is because the Earth tilts, and as it tilts, you'll be able to see the sun from these points and these points. So same thing in the summer months in Alaska. You have 24 hours of daylight in Alaska as well. And so these are the realities of what we're dealing with here, is that we have some major issues if we want to believe in a flat Earth. We have some major issues. And it's going to make us look real, real bad as Bible believers if we're going to use the Bible to try to prove the flat Earth. It just can't happen. It's not reality. Now on a flat Earth, would you have 24 hours of daylight? Can you have 24 hours of daylight down in Antarctica with the sun ball? That's not a reality. We got to deal with what's real, what's observable, what's testable, what's demonstratable. Real science. And real science shows that this is wrong. And also, there's usually the sun, as it hits the equator, there's 2 equinoxes, which is going to be the spring and fall equinox, but there's also the winter and summer solstice. And as the winter solstice comes, what happens is the Earth gets further away from the equator. And you'll see this is the line of where the winter solstice happens. And inside here is called the summer solstice. Summer solstice, in the summer, the Earth tilts this way. And as it tilts this way, you get more sunshine. But on a flat Earth, it would be going like that. And what you'd have here is a day as the sun goes around. But the problem with that is, well, there's lots of problems with that, but the big problem with that is that your sun has to slow down to about 1,936 kilometers an hour as it makes its trip around the Earth in the summer, but it has to speed up to about 3,300 kilometers an hour to make a trip in a day in the winter time. You see a problem with that? Sun speed has to increase and decrease. There's all kinds of problems too. The light, the amount of light, why is it not shining over top of the pole? It's different constellations also appear bigger as they get closer. If you were on a flat Earth, they would get bigger in the sky, just like the sun should get bigger as it gets closer to us. But it doesn't. It's still the same size all the way across the sky. Now, this is used to prove that we're on a flat Earth. They're called crepuscular rays. And these things come out of the sky like this. And this is what's used as proof. But the problem is that, I'm going to show you a couple problems. This is what it does when it goes up. It's crespecular as well. And the only reason it's crespecular is because of this. What happens here as it gets further away and it gets closer? It gets bigger as it gets closer. You see? So that's what happens with the rays. Does this football field not look bigger as it's closer? On this side it's bigger. It's getting wider. That's called viewpoint. It's called perspective. And as we look at perspective, we'll understand what crespecular rays are. So the lines are really straight as they go through the sky. They're not just shining down. If you look carefully, you'll find that they are straight. But it's from your perspective that they look crespecular. And that's all it is. Now, question our brother asked is, if the Earth is spinning at 1,040 miles per hour, we'd actually fly off, right? And same with going through the universe at millions of miles per hour. We should be flying off. How are planes, when they go up in the sky, not suddenly taking off at 1,040 miles an hour, the opposite direction as soon as they come up? How come that's not happening? Well, let's examine some science here. Now, this is basically a helicopter, and this is what they believe should happen, is the Earth should be rotating and the helicopter should go sideways.
I want to see a helicopter like this lifting off from Australia upside down while the Earth is spinning. I want to see the Earth spinning 1,000 miles an hour while a helicopter takes off and flies around like you tell us it does. It just seems very, absolutely ridiculous to me. You have to be really brainwashed to believe something like that, you know, like.
Okay, so that's where we stand. We're being brainwashed that a helicopter can't do that. Now, I want to show you guys a few things, some science that I understand that a car, when you're driving at about 100 miles an hour, it doesn't matter how fast you're driving. You throw a ball in the air, and what's happening with the air inside the car? Is it moving with the car as the car goes around? Isn't it? Because you throw the ball's not going 100 miles an hour that way after you throw it up in the air. But if you put your hand out the window, you will notice a difference in airspeed, and it's not moving with the car. But the stuff inside the car, the atmosphere inside the car, is moving with the car. That's the same thing with the atmosphere on the Earth. As this is spinning around, the atmosphere outside of it is also spinning with us. So it's going with us, just like the car air is moving with the car. Notice that I'm in an airplane in this next clip here. This is me, and I'm throwing a ball up in the air. That's me on my trip to the Philippines. And I threw the ball up in the air just to show that I was flying at 600 miles an hour, and I threw a ball up in the air, and it should have caught the air and flew away. But how come it didn't? Because the atmosphere inside the plane moves with the plane at 600 miles an hour. In the same sense as this is spinning around, the atmosphere on the Earth moves with the Earth. So when we throw a ball up, it's not going to fly away at 1,040 miles an hour. It's moving all the atmosphere with the Earth. So everything moves with it. And so that's why the plane doesn't fly off in the opposite direction, because the whole atmosphere moves with the Earth. It's simple science. We're just learning that this is possible. Now, airplanes from Taiwan to Los Angeles, emergency landing in Alaska. This is another proof that's used for a flat earther to prove that we are on a flat Earth. Airplanes going to Alaska. One made an emergency stop in Alaska. That's way out of the way. Why didn't they go to Los Angeles, they say? Well, they're not looking at the proper map. See, this is what they say makes more sense as a flat Earth. Then it would stop in Alaska because it's flying from Taiwan. But there's more to it than that. See, look, this is the actual route on a round Earth here. And as you can see, it was about 6 hours into the trip. What would be the closest destination? Los Angeles or Alaska? Yeah, so on a round Earth, see, there's cherry-picked little examples that are used to try to fit a flat Earth, but these things do not fit. They don't work. And some people say, well, what about these flights? They go up and then they go down. Why are they going up and then down? And again, they're using a flat Earth map. And it is cheaper, and these are connecting flights, but what they do is they cherry pick the flights they want. They won't use flights like Qantas 27, which goes from Sydney to Santiago, Chile, yeah, Santiago, Chile. So we've got a flight here that goes that way, and this flight is about 14 hours and 20 minutes, and it costs $1,728. You could go buy it on Google right now if you want to. It's available. And there's other flights like this one here from Johannesburg to Perth, Australia. This is about 12 hours and 37 minutes. And you've got your time on there, but these flights are not acknowledged by the Flat Earther. They say they don't exist. And the reason they say they don't exist is because it's too far across to take it all the way across. But there's videos. I'm going to show you a couple videos in a second. These flights do exist. And it would take a long time to get from Auckland, New Zealand to Santiago on a flat Earth. A long time. But this is what it takes. You can order one right now on Google. 1 flight per day. Happens every day. 13 hours, 0 minutes. It's there. You can't ignore it. 13 hours at 550 miles per hour, you'd end up at 7,150 miles. Now, what about the flat Earth map? You think that's going to fit? Let's look at the flat Earth map here. If you measure it all out, measuring from these distances here, you've got 14,500 miles. It's almost double the distance on the flat Earth map. There's a problem there, a big problem. It's not going to fit. And another problem is the Boeing 777 can only go 9,300 miles, so it will run out of gas before you even got there. You'd be in big trouble because you'd end up in the ocean. It doesn't work on a flat Earth. These flights do not work on a flat Earth. It's impossible. Another flight from Sydney to Johannesburg, 11,060 kilometers. The flight time is 13 hours and 20 minutes. You're flying at 830 kilometers an hour. And so you were to equal this out on a flat Earth, you've got 2 distances here for these from the North Pole to the South Pole. You can calculate these, and then you can get your degree, and you can calculate the whole distance, and you end up with 23,000 miles from Perth to Johannesburg. That's a big distance on a flat Earth. It doesn't work on a flat Earth because, again, these flights can't make it that far. They would run out of gas right around here, right around India somewhere. You wouldn't make it. So it can't work on a flat Earth. Flat Earth is impossible. And we've got these airports here below. These airports they could probably stop at, but you know what? They also are to cross India and China and all this stuff. You should be seeing all these sites. Nobody ever reports these sites on this flight. But you know what's interesting on this flight? Watch this flight. This is a recorded flight, and they've recorded a couple of them to prove to flat earthers that they actually exist. They've recorded these things, and as they fly, notice the flight path. Where does it fly? Over Antarctica. You see, it doesn't fly anywhere near. I know I'm getting limited on time here, but basically that's your flight pattern on the round Earth, and that would be across basically here. So you end up seeing Antarctica. Now watch as we're looking at the flight here, that what they're going to see through the window is absolutely Antarctica. It's there. You can see it through the window. This is the flight as it's flying across. And it's a real flight. It happens. It can't happen on a flat Earth. There's so many problems with it. So Antarctica is definitely there in this flight. And I don't know if I can move it ahead here. That's the actual airplane station. It really happens. And the only reason that I put this on record here in the video here is because flat earthers don't believe these flights exist. They believe that all the airlines are in on the conspiracy that the Earth is flat, and that all the distances across the Earth on the round Earth are made up. So everybody is in on the conspiracy apparently in the southern hemisphere, in Australia, all the way across the world. That's it. We can observe, we can test, we can do these things, and they know how long it takes. So on the flat Earth airway, it would take 1,756 kilometers an hour to get there. You'd have to go at 1,756 kilometers an hour to get from Perth to Johannesburg. It can't happen. Real average speed is 830. Yeah, so that can't happen. Now, I'm almost done. Yeah, I'm going to do a few more things here, not much, but this is the path of what was called the solar eclipse about a year ago or so when it passed across the United States. And this could be predicted easily with a round Earth. But if you're on a flat Earth, you can't predict these things. It can't happen. It's not reality. Reality tells us these things years in advance. So we can know when the next solar eclipse is going to be. We can know when the next lunar eclipse is going to be. And we know these things. It's all predicted because we can calculate them because we know how fast we're going around the earth. And we know we're going around the earth as we're doing these things. So that's reality. And these things can be predicted. These maps definitely don't work. They don't work. The flat earth is not truth. And this is what I think Jesus is doing as we try to say the Bible is a flat earth book and we're trying to use it for a flat earth book. I think he's kind of sad. You know, the Bible talks about the earth standing on pillars thereof that tremble. Well, people take verses like these, which are allegorical, and they try to use it and say, yeah, the earth is really just a pancake that's on a bunch of pillars, and there's really just the firmament there. I'll get to that in a second, but they're not reality. We got to not use verses like that to prove our point. That's not how we use the Bible. It's the wrong way to use the Bible because you're going to look silly when people show you that obviously the moon does not have its own light. It's not its own. It reflects the light of the sun, just as we reflect the light of Jesus, the Son of Righteousness. We're not our own light. And you know what that is when you reflect your own light? If he's the Son of Righteousness, as Malachi 4:2 says, and we actually are our own light as the moon symbolizes, then guess what that is? That's Satanism. Because Satan wants to be his own light. We are a reflection of the light of Christ, the Son of Righteousness. So their line goeth through the earth, and their words to the end of the world. In them hath he set a tabernacle for the sun. And tabernacle means it has a tent over it, some people say. You see, these are allegorical terms. They're not real, as brother was talking about earlier about a tent. And if you actually look up the word here for the earth, it actually means the globe. You look it up in the Hebrew. It's the globe. This is a globe right here. It's round. A globe means a round earth. God said, let there be lights in the firmament of the heaven to divide the day for the night, and let them be for signs, for seasons, for days and years. And it says in the firmament, under the firmament. But if you actually look carefully at the one that says under the firmament, it's actually the same thing, in the firmament. So in the firmament just means he put them in the firmament. And the firmament does not just have to do with the little part where the birds fly in. It has to do with the whole entire thing. So the firmament is bigger than what we're making it out to be. We just have to be careful that the word under in verse 7 is not supposed to be there. It's not really, it's added there but you look at the Hebrew, you'll see that under is not there. And you can check that out for yourself. Now Joshua chapter 10 is used to say the sun stood still in the sky. Well, the sun did stand still in the sky, but it hasted not to go down about the whole day. Joshua 10:13, does the sun go down on a flat earth? It can't go down. Flat earthers don't believe that the sun goes down. So you can't be a flat earther and believe the Bible because the Bible talks a lot about the sun going down. That means that the Bible is not a flat earth book. Now, Joshua describing this, let me describe something. Even though I was working at a rapid pace, the earth continued its rotation until the light terminated today. Is that how we ever talk about the sunset? We say the sun set. Because from our perspective, that's natural language. The sun sets. And so we call it the sun went down. And that's what Joshua said. The sun ceased to go down. So from Joshua's perspective, he's not going to say, well, the earth stopped rotating and then all of a sudden. No, it's from perspective view. So that's how Joshua is talking. It's just the language.
So you need more 5 minutes again?
We gotta get to the Bible verses in the next session. But I wanted to show some scientific stuff that's reality first before we got into the Bible. But A.T. Jones said the ancients knew that the earth is round. They all knew it. He says the Jews knew it always. Aristotle taught it. So did Ptolemy the geographer. And you can go through your history and you can look up some of these people. They knew the earth was round. Indeed, this was a familiar truth among the people of those times. It's not hard to figure out. When you look at the sun, the stars, the moon, it's not hard to figure out. They knew the sky very well back then. But it was the Catholic Church Fathers who, with many other falsehoods of the great apostasy, brought in the dogma that the earth should be flat. The chief of the Church Fathers and the chief author of the dogma that the earth was flat was Augustine. So where does it come from, the flat earth view? Catholics. Bible says the sun also rises and the sun goeth down and hasteth to its place where he arose. So the sun arises and it goes down. How can the sun arise and go down on a flat earth? Spirit of Prophecy, Ellen White, says the Bible has now been carried to every part of the globe. What is this thing called? A globe. What's a flat earth called? It's not a globe. It is God that makes the sun to rise in the heavens, she said. Can the sun rise on a flat earth? It doesn't happen. Whether the world is round or flat will not save a soul, but whether men believe and obey means everything. So this to me is not that important of a topic, but I do think that it's important that you don't make yourself and all of us Christians look really silly by trying to promote the Bible as a flat earth book. That is important. And that's why she said, don't push this issue. Watch what she says here. The Lord accepted all the obedience of every creature he has made according to the circumstances of time in the sun rising and sun setting world. So what kind of world do we live in? A sun rising and sun setting world. The Sabbath was made for a round world, and therefore obedience is required of the people that are in perfect consistency with the Lord's created world. So it's a sun setting and a sun rising world, and it's round. So she did say whether the earth is round or flat, she differentiated between round or flat. She's not talking about round like a pancake. She's talking about round like a ball. And that has to do with sunsets and sunrises. There is no sunset and sunrise on a flat earth. It doesn't happen. It's not reality. The sun does not set on a flat earth. Now, one last thing. It is by the original power inherent in nature that year by year the earth produces bounties and the world keeps up its continual march around the sun. Now, if the earth is marching around the sun, as is taught by the heliocentric view, then the earth is going around the sun. How can the sun be doing that? It can't happen on a flat earth. So this is definitely what is happening. The sun is marching around the sun. And it's reality. But this is what it is. The flat earth I believe to be a diversion. And this is what she says. She says there is to be an avoidance of controversy. What's she talking about? We are to speak the truth in love. False doctrines of every kind will be brought in to divert the mind from a plain thus saith the Lord. So what are false doctrines going to do? Divert our minds from the word? Wherever we shall go, we shall find men ready with the same side issue. While I was at Melrose, a man came with a message that the world is flat. I was instructed to present the commission that Christ gave his disciples just before his ascension, as recorded in Matthew 28:16-20. And this is what I would say. This is what I would say, is that there's diversions and false doctrines of every kind coming in. This is why we're here today, to see whether or not the earth is flat or whether the earth is spherical or round or a globe, as we say. And there's a lot of evidence that we are definitely not on a flat earth. There's no possible way that that is reality. So it can't be true. And as we're looking at this, what we're doing is we're diverting minds with false doctrines, because that's what this is. People are making this a present truth issue as if it has to be something that we need to believe in, and it's going to help us believe that God is true and the Bible's true and all this stuff. It's not. It's going to help people. People are probably going to go sideways and stuff like that, and they're going to be led away from writings like the Spirit of Prophecy. They're definitely not going to be able to accept what the reality is. In the Bible, a lot of people are going to sit there and say, well, the Bible's a flat earth book. It's not the reality. It's definitely not a flat earth. So here's your book back. It's not going to lead people to believe the word. It's going to lead people away from the word. And so the flat earth, I believe, as she said, is one of those false doctrines that's being brought in to divert our minds from plain, thus saith the Lord, from the Bible. And so that's my thoughts on it.